Hi, I'm Katie. Last year, I made a list of 22 hard things that I wanted to do in 2022. The list was a mixture of physical, mental, and emotional goals that I set out to do in hopes of finding my joy again and living a healthier and happier life. I had struggled after years of depression and gaining back 100 pounds of extreme weight loss a decade ago. For my whole life, I had a weight loss goal at the beginning of every year. And so instead of making a weight loss goal or kind of the generic goals that I had made myself and resolved to do in the past, like drink more water or eat better and healthier, those sorts of things, I decided to make my list. And my list was specific, and it was things that I wanted to actually do, not the results or the outcomes of doing those things, over which I have a lot less control. So I had on there run a 5K, run a half marathon. I had make a perfect loaf of sourdough bread, and I had a goal to get back to triathlon. Another goal was to grow broccoli from seed. These are just a few examples. You can see the complete video on how I came up with my list here. I shared a lot on social media during this time and started to build this community of people, and they were all people who wanted to do their own hard things. And I got asked a lot of questions towards the end of last year, and I didn't get a chance to answer a lot of them because it was just kind of a rush at the end of the year. And now that 2023 is here and we are working on our 2023 list, I thought I'd answer some of these questions. So these are really random questions, just kind of from my community, mostly on Instagram. And these were questions that were sent to me around the time that I was heading out to do and complete my half marathon. Deborah, are you joining me today? Which hard thing was the hardest on my list? Not the butt. Not the butt. I think there were a couple of really hard things on my list. I didn't intend for the half marathon to be so difficult. I felt fairly prepared for it, but because I kind of had an injury during the event, it made it a very mentally challenging thing to actually complete. And so I have to say the half marathon, but that's because of the circumstances of the event and not, like the mental or physical strength it took as I prepared for the half. The Shawnee Mission triathlon that I did earlier in the summer was definitely the hardest physical challenge that I took on. My friend crashing her bike devastatingly during that race, and then me crashing my bike following her, made it not only a really difficult day, but the days following were very hard as well. And training for triathlon is no joke. And it was the hardest overall, I would say. But also, I think the most rewarding. I did another triathlon later in the summer, and it was the best time that I had all year. And then a hard thing that I didn't complete that was really hard and difficult was figuring out a plan to spread my mom's ashes. And I didn't ultimately end up coming with a plan. I didn't come up with a plan, and I didn't put it on my list this year because I think when I'm ready, I'm ready. How much of your list did you accomplish, and what training program do you use? I completed 19 things on my 22 hard things in 2022. And if I'm honest, I had moments where I thought about the fact that I wasn't completing them, and I was like, okay, is this failure? But I was feeling so different. And by the end of 22, I was feeling so different that I was feeling by the end of 2021. I was like, this is just a roaring success. I felt really proud of the things that I checked off my list, and I knew that the power was within remembering who I was and remembering and discovering what I was capable of again, and my strengths and the parts of me that are amazing that I had forgotten about. And so the list was never designed to be this pressure. I wanted it to inspire me and push me outside of my comfort zone and encourage me And the list did just that. So there's 3 things I left on the table. One of them I moved to this year, and the other 2 I didn't make the next list. And what training program do I use? Follow Jeff Galloway's run, walk, run method for running. So yes, I do a lot of walking in my running. I walk currently about 50% of the time, but when I started running at the beginning of 2022, I was only running for 10-second intervals. So I have come a long way in that time. And the Galloway method is such a powerful tool, in my opinion. It helps me prevent injury. It helps me gain distance and go faster. And it makes it so that the running is actually enjoyable for me. It pushes me, but for me, it feels like a very healthy and realistic approach to getting back to running or getting into running for the first time. And many seasoned runners use the Galloway method just as a part of that's just part of their running routine. Someone asks, how old am I? I get this a lot. I am 35. Do you feel pressure to do something equally big in 2023, or are you continuing with 2022? Yes, I feel a little bit of pressure because I've shared this journey on social media, but it's not a pressure that feels overwhelming or negative. It feels really motivating. It feels really encouraging. And my goals look a bit different this year. I've added in some different types of physical goals, some different types of mental goals, and I've really tried to focus on finding things that I could do with other people. I think last year was really about getting to know myself again, accept myself again, and appreciate myself again. And I'm a person who struggles socially, which you may not think watching these videos, or if you're close to me and around me a lot, you may not realize that. But pushing myself now outside of the box to get back to people, to get back to life with people after those years of depression is really where I'm at. And I also want other people to realize their own strength, their own capability, that they can do the things that they want to do too. And that's where I feel pressure in 2023, is to share and continue and hopefully encourage other people to chase their own joy and to do their own hard things, because they are worthy of them. Just started following you. Where are you from? I am from Kansas City, Missouri, and we have a farm with 40 acres and a farm that we share with our dad with another 40 acres. We are just figuring out what that's going to look like for us. How do you find the motivation to do such hard things? I'm going to tell you, when I was living in the deepest part of my depression, I did not have motivation to do hard things. I didn't have motivation to do anything because it felt hopeless, everything did. And I felt like no matter what I would do, I would fall short. And I've said this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again, that I started with just the one hard thing of brushing my hair every day. It was really about meeting myself where I was at. I don't think I could use the word motivated at that time. I think I would use the word desperate. I was desperate to not feel that way anymore. I was desperate to experience life again and feel like myself again. And I think it started there, and I just forced myself to do those things because I knew that if I could get past those first few humps, those first few hard things, that I could find hope, and I could then use that hope to build motivation. And I'm never going to be the person that says, think about your whys or all of that. I think there are plenty of people who you can draw from if that's what you're looking for. But for me, I had a million reasons to do the things for myself, not only for myself, but for my family. But in depression, having the reasons and the why didn't feel like enough. And for me, my motivation comes from hope, and that there is light, and love essentially to be found on the other side of these hard things. And so although I have many whys behind the hard things that I chose, that's not necessarily what motivates me. I think I'm now motivated by several different desires. One, to experience life in a bold way. Another, to share my hope with others. And a lot of times when I'm having a hard day now, I think about those things, and I think about my long-term hopes and dreams, and what are and then I start subtracting things, and I say, okay, that sounds way far off, and it sounds like I'll never be able to do that. And I start just taking things, subtracting things away from that to get down to meet myself where I'm at, to say, what could I do right now? What could I do right this second? To take one little step towards that. If time didn't matter, if I didn't care about time, if I didn't care what other people thought, what's one small thing that I could do? And so I'm not always motivated. I have hard days, but that's where I'm drawing from. And I hope others can find the hope and a little bit of light so they can feel that too. This is a random one. What did you aspire to be when you were growing up? When I was in elementary school and junior high, I wanted to be a film director. I really wanted to be that. I wanted to be a teacher at a time, and then I also thought I would go into like broadcast news at some point, but I really wanted to be an editor. I love telling stories. I love what video and audio can do to make you feel things, and that's still a big part of, I think, why building this community and sharing so much of my life, even though it's been difficult at times, why it means so much to me. Getting back to this creative outlet and being able to do this has been really powerful for me. All right, I think this is my last question. Of all the amazing things you have done this year, which one are you proudest of completing? I really love this question, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. I did so many things that I thought I'd never do again, or thought I'd never try, or thought I could never accomplish, and I'm very proud of that. But when I look back, I think I am proudest of doing that first hard thing. The thing that wasn't even, the things that weren't on my list before I even got to the list. I think I'm proudest of the me in that moment for saying, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try again, and I'm going to try to live. And if that was brushing my hair or the 10 minutes of intentional movement, that's what it was. I'm proudest of that because I think without that, I wouldn't be sitting here dreaming about the things that I'm going to do in 2023. I most certainly wouldn't be panicked about catching my flight tomorrow for a trip to Argentina, Patagonia, to hike. I wouldn't be filling a race schedule of events that I want to complete this year. I wouldn't be thinking about meeting new people or developing closer relationships with the friends and family that I already have. I think if I wouldn't have done that first hard thing, I'm just glad I did, and I'm really proud of it. So, well, those are some questions answered. I will do another one of these at some point with new questions. As always, thanks for being here, and I hope I'll see you next time.